Yo guys, this is Reinhardt. Today we're gonna be talking about our movement, Thrive. You guys already saw my video. If not, it's gonna be over here. Check it out. So, people told me how to play Unholy Decay, and it's gonna take time. It takes time to actually get decent at Unholy Decay because unlike Frost, our shit is very different and situational. In Frost, most of the people get rid of Rhyme and they just go for a full Necrotics, Howling Blast, Frost Strike damage. Unholy, on the other hand, is different. Let's look at my spec real quick. I have Rage of Riven there and a full diseases damage. The reason why is because I like doing some cleave with diseases, especially for the Shadow Cliff. But some people don't spec into Rage of Riven there and they put 1 point out of the Ebon Plaguebringer. They maximize their Sudden Doom and then they're maximizing their Bladed Armor. Maybe not maximizing, 2 points. Well, their Necrotics do a little bit more damage and their Discos do a little bit more damage and Necrotics do a bit more stacking. But the reason why I like this spec is because I like doing Scourge Strikes on a class such as Mages, Warlocks, Hunters, Rogues. And they do a decent amount of damage, 8 to 9 to 10k damage. And in my opinion, if I have a 30k Necrotic stacks on a target, why the hell would I want to keep Necrotic stacking it? I actually would like to sneak some Scourge Strikes and do Necrotics only to refresh the stacks. Now a lot of people ask me what's Unholy Rotation, and to be honest, it differs a lot. It differs a lot because there's not really a set rotation. I actually hate when people say rotation. No, learn the class, research it, you guys will be fine. But there's no specific rotation on A, B, C, D, A, B, C, D. No, it's not happening. It's a PvP. It's very dynamic. It's very changing. There's no such thing as specific rotation. Let's talk about my basic rotation though. If I'm fighting against a melee and the melee clips and they get on me, my first thing I do is I'm putting a Chain of Ice, Plague Strike, and Necrotic Strike. I got my Death Advance proc over here, and I'll start cutting it at 70%. And while I am cutting, this is where you're not allowed to backpedal. If I'm backpedaling like this, I'm using only 50% of my speed. But if I'm strafing and kiting and doing fast strikes at the same time along it, not only I'm putting a Desecration on top of my enemies, I'm also getting my Death Advance and my Death Runes. So against the melees, this is how I usually do it. I put a Chain of Ice, I put a Plague Strike and Necrotic Strike. And then I do a couple Festering Strikes while I'm cutting away. They would have to come towards me, and I usually mitigate some of the damage along the way like that. Because we are as Unholy Decay don't have personal huge amount of damage, our damage comes from diseases, pet, and just overall spread out damage. That means that when you're cutting to melee DPS, you're not losing too much damage. You're not losing as much damage as the other melee DPS would. So, now, when it comes to doing your full rotation, what I absolutely hate the most, let me get rid of this running power, is when people say, well, what do I do when I don't have runes anything? And let me show you. This is my basic PvP rotation. Chain of Ice, Plague Strike, Necrotic Strike, Necrotic Strike, Necrotic Strikes, Necrotics at 30k. Then I'm dumping my Runing Power so I could get a Runing Corruption proc. And the only thing you have to make sure is Unholy. You're gonna have to have at least one type of runes on cooldown all the time. Otherwise, you're gonna be running out of the Runing Power like freaking crazy. Now, remember I told you when I like to use Scourge Strikes? Here, I see I have a lot of Necrotic Strikes. And they're about to expire. I'm putting my Blood Tap, and I'm getting some Necrotics. I don't want to have it expire, but I also want to do some damage. So I'm doing some Scourge Strikes on the way too. Now, the basic PvP rotation. Here. Right now, I'm out of Runing Power runes. I'm gonna do extra Horn of Winter so I get a Runic Corruption proc after Death Scroll. I didn't get it, that's fine. I might get another one. Yes, I finally got it. When it comes to Unholy DPS rotation, you have to realize that the best resource you have is a Runic Corruption over here. For 3 seconds it gives you 100% rune regeneration rate. It is absolutely amazing, and with it you're not gonna be able to run out of the runes or runic power, but you have to be very smart. Sometimes when I see all my runes on cooldown, I only have just one rune, let's say for example. What I usually do sometimes, I put a chain of ice to get enough runic power for one death coil. I might lose a little bit DPS, but if I get my runic corruption proc, it will be so much better. Another thing, as a decay, unholy decay, what you have to do is you have to use your blood type frequently. I use it almost all the time off cooldown, either to get runic power, put some necrotics. But the main source is, make sure you're gonna have as much uptime on your runic corruption as possible. If you're not gonna be able to get a good amount of death coils out of the way, you're not gonna get runic corruption. If you're not gonna get runic corruption, you're gonna suck. Your damage is gonna suck, you're not gonna do a lot of damage, and the other opponent gonna outpressure you very easy. And that's about it. When it comes to popping your cooldowns, Gargoyle. I have 2 macros for Gargoyle. I have one macro over here that also has pet follow pet attack, because we know Gargoyle's intelligence is very little. It's a poquito. Their intelligence is probably as good as a Blizzard's way of balancing this freaking game sometimes, but sometimes they're doing a good job. Anyway, pet follow pet attack. Sometimes Holy Paladins, when they're healing, they can actually get a lot of aggro, and the Gargoyle starts auto attacking them. That's when I have to manually pet follow pet attack. And having those 2 functions here pays off pretty well. Then I have Blood Fury ratio. If you want to copy my macro, go ahead. If you're Orc, this is awesome. If you're not Orc, do not use a Blood Fury ratio, okay? And then you use a Rusna's Badge of Victory, basically unused trinket, and summon Gargoyle. After that, I usually sometimes pop my trinket outside of a Gargoyle if I know I might put a really good amount of pressure, because cooldown on trinket is 2 minutes, on Gargoyle 3 minutes. Sometimes it's not worth losing 1 minute on your trinket proc just so you could get it with a Gargoyle up. When to pop Gargoyle is the best time when you have a lot of death runes and you have enraged pet. Those 2 combined gonna put out a lot of pressure. The second macro I have for my Gargoyle is this one, and this one has only one addition: cast at player Unholy Frenzy. And the reason why is I use Frenzy half the times to get my healers out of crowd control abilities, and half the time I use it on myself to put in a lot of pressure. Anyway guys, I hope this video helped, and I hope it's gonna help you out to get a better player. I know it's a bit confusing, but make sure that you do your rotation according to rune tab. If you get this concept correctly, you'll do well as Unholy DK. If you won't, you won't. If you have any questions or comments, please list them below, and I'll do my best to answer them. If you have specific questions, message me on YouTube. I'm not gonna ignore you. And in addition to that guys, in your comments below, tell me what's the next educational video you want me to see. I have a video of dueling against a warrior and rogue coming up. I'm gonna do a dueling series videos, but those are gonna be only against the classes that stand a very good chance against a DK, if not a hand counter to a DKs. Thank you guys for watching this video, and до свидания.